Check, check, mic check, mic check.
We're here for the Budget Committee meeting. Thanks everyone for coming. There is no public comment, but I would invite one representative from each town to, who is going to be representing. We'll start with Hamden.
Eric Jarvie.
Eric, thank you, Dr. Jarvie. Newark, Cindy. Winterport, Casey, and Frankfurt.
Mike Shaw.
Mike Shaw. Thanks, Mike. So the way this will work is on each agenda item, we'll go through what the presentation is, and then we'll take up to 5 minutes to answer any questions on that agenda item. There is no other public comment than the people we've invited. Any further questions on things on the agenda, please send them along to myself, to Nick, or anyone else on the budget committee. So for the agenda, we're first going to do Article 15, Adult Education, since we have a presentation. We'll move that up. And what we're going to do is everyone take one piece of paper from the packet. Okay, Nick, go ahead for adult ed.
So this afternoon, we have Rebecca Cross here to talk to us about our adult ed program. We are part of the Riverside Adult Ed program. That is a collaboration between RSU 22, RSU 26, which is Orno, and RSU 34. So I will turn it over to Rebecca to give us a summary of the adult ed RSU 22 portion.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Cross, and I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about what's happening in adult education and share some data and learning. It's been my pleasure and honor to serve as the director of this partnership for almost 5 years, and I'm learning and growing all the time in this position. So I wanted just to show you some slides. So adult education programs across Maine include the skill building and career prep category and lifelong learning opportunities. So RSU 22 has a really robust community enrichment program. Classes can include yoga and belly dancing and the fitness center and arts and pottery, cooking, all kinds of different things, including financial literacy and some digital literacy. But we spend a lot of time also in the skill building and career prep, so helping folks build literacy skills, high school completion, certificate programs. Primarily in our partnership, we're helping people find careers in the healthcare pathway. Also, we offer some college prep and access support, and more English language acquisition as Maine welcomes new Americans. I did want to share some data with you. Over 55,000 adults in Maine need a high school diploma. We offer 2 pathways to high school completion in our partnership. One is an exam called the HiSET, which used to be known as the GED, and it's a series of official exams. There's a whole prep pathway that our students complete in order to sit for those exams. And the other pathway is through the local diploma, and we do a transcript analysis, look at what that student has already achieved, and make an individualized plan for that student to complete. This data really blew me away. Moving all adults up to a 6th grade reading level would generate an additional $2.2 trillion in economic growth for the U.S. each year. And this data can be found on the Barbara Bush Foundation for Literacy if you wanted to dig into it further. I was interested to see also that low literacy adults are 4 times more likely to have poor health outcomes, requiring hospitalization and use of emergency services at significantly higher rates. And 53% of adults aged 25 and over who did not graduate from high school are not participating in the workforce. So before I talk about our local data, I do want to just pause and thank you so much for the support of this work. It is so impactful to individuals and, as you see, to our community as well. Right now in our academic program, we have 29 students on our roster. And when I started here back in the fall of 2019, we had 2. So we are really growing every year. 21 of our students are aged 16 to 22. And that's kind of an exciting piece of information because what that means is referrals are coming in, students are finding us and having a chance to make this huge step to becoming a high school graduate early in their lives so that they have more time to further develop their skills. We have 8 students right now who are aged 23 to 50. 4 of them are parents. A couple of them have children right here at Hampden Academy. And right now we have 12, we could have up to 15 grads this June. It just takes time. Sometimes the student needs more than a year to complete what they need to do. I'm gonna skip this just for a moment and talk about some of the barriers and challenges our students face. Many of our students are unsheltered or under-sheltered. So they are couch surfing, they are living in a tent or car or a storage unit or a community shelter. And it's hard to hear, I know, but it's important for us to all be aware of this, especially considering that I just shared that 21 of our students are teens or very young 20s. And for many of them, this is a reality. Our students often have really low efficacy in navigating the support system. So you might think, well, there's help out there. You know, why don't they just do this or do that? And turns out it really takes some sophisticated skills to navigate, for example, main care. Or to find a bed at a detox center requires a phone. You have to call every day till there's a bed ready. And if you are trying to do that while you're living in a storage unit and not feeling safe, it's really hard. And so that's a huge barrier for our students. I think we're all aware that there's a lack of services and good mental health providers right now, really across the nation. And so that's another challenge. Many of our students are suffering from substance abuse disorders, either themselves or in their family or a loved one. Or they may be caring for a parent or a guardian who is suffering with a substance abuse disorder. Many of our students, even our 16-year-olds, they may be emancipated, and so they're really running the show in their lives without a network of support. And so they may be working full-time or supporting a young child while they're trying to complete the HiSET or their local diploma from RSU 22. Again, we have lots of parents, many students living in poverty, physical challenges. They may have aged out of foster care, and there's kind of a gap between having that independence and having support of a foster care system. And then, unfortunately, there's a significant issue with exploitation in Penobscot County. So these are some of the barriers and challenges that our students are facing. So when we say we have 12 students, or maybe 15, that are going to cross the finish line this June, it is really a cause to celebrate. And our graduation this year is going to be here at Hampden Academy. I'm thrilled about that. And that's on June 13th, and we would love your support. Feel free to reach out if you want to know more about that. And just so you know what it looks like when a person comes in to talk about completing high school, we do that one-on-one. We do a full and comprehensive intake where we look at what needs they want to share so that we can help connect them with community resources. We look at what their goals are. We use the Department of Labor's ONET Career Interest Profiler to help direct our advising, and we look at their transcript. We assess them on their basic math and reading skills, and we develop for every student an individualized learning plan. After that, and when they've reached their finish line, whatever that may be, we do offer next step guidance. So thinking about career prep and thinking about higher education or joining the workforce straight away and what's that going to look like. So I wanted to think of a way to, once again, thank you for the support and illustrate how important this work is. And I have a photo here of a family that joined us this year. Both parents needed to complete their diplomas, and the mom has done so already. This photo I took right after we finished her final credit, so you can see that she's just beaming. And her husband has a little bit longer to go. He may graduate this June, he may have to wait till next year. And then that's their little baby Keith. And I love to think about what it means for that little boy that his parents were able to find a way to complete their education, because we know that's going to impact his life too. And his mom came in, and when we first did her intake, she was telling me her story, and she started out, well, so you see, the thing is, I wasn't born for success. And she didn't say it in a sad way, but that was her framework. And I got an email from her recently after she completed her diploma, and she said, I just know there's a world of opportunity for me. And gosh, there's nothing better. So thank you for your ongoing support. I see it and I appreciate it, and it's impacting our communities and our smaller towns, and I just really appreciate you.
So first and foremost, thank you. I know that you took over just a few years ago, but you have done a tremendous job for this program. And I know that we share your time with 2 other districts, but the passion that you have exhibited for students that you just showed is amazing, and we really appreciate that. I think you have told me this before. What district has the largest amount of participation for this graduation or potential graduates this year?
So glad you asked that question. This year, RSU 22 has the most graduates.
I just want to get that out there.
That's a great idea.
So the adult ed program, a lot of people think of it more so as the enrichments, the brochure that comes in your mailbox every 2 or 3 times a year. But there is much more to the adult ed program, as you just witnessed what Rebecca presented. So in your 2 pages, roughly, the breakdown, in summary, we are part of the the Riverside Adult Ed program that consists of 3 different districts, and we are paying for a portion of that. And so of that portion, some of it is Rebecca's salary. We do have one particular employee that is dedicated to RSU 22, a clerical staff member that we have in here, but the rest of that is, as far as salaries, is for Rebecca's portion that we are responsible for. And everything else is fairly straightforward. Basic supplies, the benefits, and then the enrichment program that we have that we spoke about.
Yes, that's correct, but also we do have a certified teacher on staff. He works about 10 hours a week in the evenings to provide the support for the students, because we do use online practice portals for both local diploma and for the high set, but it's just not enough to do that in a vacuum by yourself. We need a teacher to teach some of those higher math skills and essay writing, things like that.
Thank you. I forgot about that. I spoke to them downstairs last week, so I'm not sure why I forgot.
Any questions? And again, thank you for coming so much for the presentation.
I really appreciate being invited. Thank you.
Okay, we will go on to the next item. Article 6 is central office administration.
Article 6, System Administration, deals with the Board of Directors portion, the fiscal office that we call, and the executive office, both of which are within the central office, otherwise known as the administrative office, otherwise known as superintendent's office. They're all the same. So what you'll see is the Board of Directors. There are stipends, professional development for Board of Directors, any sort of supplies that are needed, liability insurance, and any dues. Our liability insurance is up 15%, so that has been reflected in there. And then we also have legal services broken down into negotiations legal services and non-negotiations legal services. As you know, this year we are using legal services for negotiations. Moving down to the executive administration, that reflects the superintendent and assistant superintendent and any administrative assistants under that. If you remember from the past, the breakdown of the two positions used to be that the assistant superintendent was predominantly responsible for the fiscal side, and the assistant was responsible for that, and the superintendent was on the executive side. That has changed in the last few years, so the superintendent has been put into the executive side, and the fiscal side would be those individuals, such as accounts payable, district accountant, and payroll, which will be the next section. Just to bring your attention to a couple of things specific to the executive administration, we have removed one particular position, that is the grant writer position. We have found that that has not been used for the last couple of years, and so therefore we are removing that, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. We're also removing the communications specialist position. That was budgeted this year. We did have an individual in there for 10 hours, roughly a week, for a portion of last year, but we decided that that was not needed any longer. Moving on to the fiscal side, again, those individuals that I mentioned are the district accountant, payroll specialist, and accounts payable. We are putting in a part-time grant accounting specialist. We have that individual this year. That individual is working minimal hours, I would say roughly 10 to 15 a week. And that is to help us with our grants that we currently have and to submit invoices, keep track of, and that has worked out very well. So we would like to continue with that individual in that position. So that person or that position itself has been moved into the fiscal side of this portion.
Nick, was that an area that was needed some enhancement, I think,
From the audit.
From the audit.
Yes, yep. And that's why we added it right around, I would say it's been a couple of months now. Yeah. The majority of the salaries, benefits, professional development, supplies that are part of the central office, whether that be the fiscal side or the executive side, all of those are embedded in here. Telephone, postage, those two categories are typically a 3-year average. But those are all in there as well. So Article 6 deals with board and individuals within the central office.
Any questions from board members? Yes, Cindy, go ahead.
So is what I'm seeing on this paperwork that you decreased $68,000, but the total budget is going up?
The proposed budget is going down $21,441.
This is Article 6.
That's correct.
I was looking at 7, I'm sorry.
Okay. Move on to Article 7. Let me get the paper here. Okay, school administration.
Article 7, this deals with your principal's offices. So any individual that is working within the principal's office, so that could be the principal, assistant principal, dean of students, admin assistants within that particular office, all of their salary, wages, benefits are embedded within Article 7. As well as, similar to the previous article, any supplies, professional development, dues, postage, telephone, again, those 3 are average. All of those general operating costs to run the particular office. So all of those are in there. I believe this is the number that Cindy just referenced. This one is up 106,000 by and large due to salary and benefit increases. Going through, you'll see salaries at the beginning, retirement, professional development, software, that is their portion, the school's portion of our software that we utilize, telephone postage, and supplies, as I had previously mentioned. We do have salary increases in our budget. We are anywhere from about 2 to 5% with our salary increases, and that is dependent upon regional index as well as performance.
Yeah, this one's really all salary in the benefit cost. I mean, there's nothing extra in here. I'll take any questions, board members. Okay,
Is there professional development in this article or a different one? It is this one? Thanks. Oh,
yeah,
I
it's
see.
right at the end, yeah.
Okay, so-
Yeah, Dr. Gerber.
Got it. Okay, I think I know the answer to the first question, but in doing some deep dive on this, there's always a column that says FY '24 year to date, but the dates include the whole fiscal year. And I'm assuming that the value that's in there has some cutoff point, and that's just understandable, but you can understand it makes the metrics a little bit difficult when you're trying to look at it. 3 other points, and I don't expect an answer tonight, but maybe as we move forward, we can think about this. At the last budget meeting, RSU Budget Committee stated that 70% of the excess fund balance is state and federal monies, and that only 30% is taxpayer dollars. And it would be nice if the RSU can actually provide a breakout to support that.
Can you,
This is from the last budget meeting, it was just in going back and looking at the records.
can we put that under a different agenda item? Do you have any comments on
Oh, okay.
school administration?
Okay, I thought you were looking at general comments now, so, no, none of these then will pertain to that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Nope, that's okay. Okay, the next, any other questions on Article 7? So the next item is just a brief covering of the fund balance priorities. We went over that in detail. Last meeting, nothing there has changed to my knowledge. Do any of the board members have questions on the items on the priority list? And really 4 of them are actual priorities, the rest of them are really more the listing.
I was just gonna ask if there was any further updates, for the numbers that are missing here, for the central office. No further.
No, and we're doing some modeling out of this too, to see what this might look like for the future, and we'll spend more time on that probably in 2 weeks. I gotta see what all the agenda items are. Any questions on the listing of those items? Okay, and on other, I'd like to keep this to anything that's relevant to this meeting, or if you do have a couple of questions regarding the last meeting, I will take those. Anything beyond that, I prefer that people send questions to us. So Dr. Jarvie, go ahead.
saying to you.
Okay. Go ahead, Casey. Just keep it within the items.
Would you mind stating what gives the RSU the right to use fund balance for wish list items?
I don't think we have anything to wish this item, so
The
they're
items that you
educational
just,
purposes. That's state law.
so you're citing state law, can you state which statute you're citing?
There's several of them, but you wanna read it out?
I know the number is 15004, and that's to, that one was more so to credit. And then there's another one specific to fund balance or unallocated, the title of it is unallocated fund balance. But there is a different one that specifies for educational purposes only.
Sure, I believe you're citing statute 28151689 B, number 5, which states school purpose expense requirement. Notwithstanding any other law, the money allocated for school purposes may be expended only for school purposes.
Correct.
Okay, we're in agreement with that. Number 6, the balance of allocations. So, do you have, by chance, a copy of this in front of you? The statute? I'll gladly share it with you if you'd like to review it afterwards. I don't wanna read it verbatim to you guys, because I think that's long and it's unnecessary. It just says that, section 6 is the section that states that you can have 9% in your fund balance. But, in agreement with that statement is, it's pretty clear, must be used to reduce the state and local share of the total allocation for the purpose of computing state subsidy at school boards. And they may carry the forward unallocated balance in excess of 9%. But where does it state in the statute that you can use fund balance for anything other than reduced state and local share? I'm not seeing it. Therefore, I'm almost under the assumption that you don't have the right to use fund balance monies for anything other than reducing the state and local share. And I don't need a response right now, something for you guys to chew on, but I think it's important that we educate as to why you can. I'm not seeing it, so, and I'm not an attorney, I'm just stating that I don't see where you guys have that right. And I have a couple other questions, if you
Go ahead.
would like to move on, if you don't have an answer. So, Mr. Seaton, you sent out a letter today, is now an appropriate time to discuss the letter?
If you have any clarifications, I'd prefer those and
Sure.
write them back. Is there one specific question or?
Well, in your letter that you sent to, where did this letter get sent to? I don't want to.
I sent it to the people I invited last time, Dr. Joey.
Great, thank you, okay. So, you just stated that each year the fund balance and plan is reevaluated. I was just wondering, where is this plan? to spend on your
We
fund
will
balance?
be developing that as we get further into the budget after we review the rest of the articles and the other items mentioned in there.
So has there been a plan to spend down the fund balance from past years?
I believe so. I was not on the board those
Okay,
years.
maybe we could work on providing that documentation to everyone, that would be great, thank you. And again, you stated the fund balance may only be used for educational purposes, school purposes is the term the statute uses, and dispersed through future budget allotment to reduce local share or allocation. But then you said into other designated funds as approved by the voters. I would state that that's against statute.
Related to your
So, yeah,
previous question.
just as a clarification.
Yep.
And then, if you don't mind, I have a couple from last meeting, just clarifying if that's
Sure.
appropriate. Thank you. One is the statute, which you've already addressed. Again, the plan, so you guys had a written plan or a non-written plan? Just,
The items are listed in a spreadsheet that we've used all year long.
okay. Is that something that you guys would be willing to share with everyone?
Yeah.
Great.
I think I have already.
Okay, with this group, with the whole
I
group?
thought you had had it and I've shared it with you, but if not, I will be happy to send that along to you.
With everybody, yeah, in a public forum would be great.
I think you have it, Casey.
Do you want me
It's the
to?
priority list that we have advertised a number of times.
That's the plan that you guys have
Yes.
developed since 2017?
That's the plan that we started this year, based
Okay.
on the fund balance.
Yes.
I don't know about a plan from before I
Okay.
was,
So would we be in agreement in stating that RSU 22 has been out of compliance with state law since 2017? And that information was
As
over your audit,
as far as what?
having excessive amounts in fund balance?
There,
Back in 2017, it was 3%, then it was changed to 5%, and then 9%.
I think that's what we've been talking about, yes.
Great, so we're in agreement there. What plan has RSU 22 had?
There is no written document.
Okay.
The plan is to put it either towards these accounts, the reserve accounts, that's what they have been doing, or putting it back towards a credit. But there is nothing that indicates that a written plan has to be made. That's why we put together a spreadsheet, so we wouldn't lose sight of it.
Great, thank you for clarifying. So last meeting, we talked about the state minimum, which is on, Nick, you would know better than LD 279, am I correct on that? Where it determined the state minimum for the municipalities. ED 279, thank you.
The local share and state share.
Yeah, so, I guess my question is, does the RSU agree that each town that makes up the RSU, the 4 towns, have they consistently paid over the required state minimum since 2017?
You're talking about the local excess. To my knowledge, the RSU 22 has always gone above the essential programs and services.
Great, thank you. And I guess I had one just generic overlapping question. Is the budget committee and RSU 22 as a whole, are you guys aware of how that the money could still be used for school purposes, as other districts have set that precedent, and how that would impact the towns? Like, how we as a municipality could use the money for school purposes, and that impact that plays on our own appropriations for our own budget. And if you're not, I would love to just take the opportunity to provide an example.
As I referenced in the letter, we have consulted with the Department of Education and our council on what we can do with those dollars and how we can allocate them, so I'm very aware of how that can happen.
Okay, so
And
you're just,
it's a board.
for
board
clarification
decision.
statement, you're still claiming that it's, the term that you guys use, illegal to give money back to the municipalities?
I wouldn't, I never said that. I mean,
I would say, Casey, we're trying to follow the law in this particular case and the guidance that we have received from our legal counsel and in consultation with the Maine DOE Finance Department.
Sure. So, but we can also agree that other districts have set a precedent that there's actual physical funds that come back to the towns. RSU 22 is just, if I'm being clear here, you're being advised to not do that by your legal counsel.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, thank you.
any other, oh, Cindy, go ahead.
So, my first question is, the RSU aware that there's a special provision in state law to retain the 9% of the previous year's budget will end in 25-26,
Yes,
and will be returning to 5% of the previous year's budget.
correct.
That's a lot of money to get rid of between now and then.
It
And
is.
there's not a lot on this priorities paper. Do you plan on having a plan, if you're not gonna give it back to the towns? A full plan of what you're gonna do with the excess?
Yeah, we do. Those have to be reevaluated depending on circumstances of each year and each budget, but yes.
Okay, so my second question is, has the RSU received any documentation from either the financial auditors or the RSU legal representative that indicates that you are out of compliance with state law in respect to the fund balance? And what recommendations did either the auditor or legal state to the RSU you needed to do?
Yeah, I would say we're above that 9%, but we are still in compliance because we need a plan to bring that down within that 3-year timeframe.
Right, but you've been out of compliance since 2017. Usually auditors will send a letter. Does anybody know if it comes with the audit?
Yeah, I mean, there was some special focus on that in the FY '23 audit, that you can find online. They've given a nice summary.
Okay, my last question, next to last question. A lot of the excess funds that have come, each year, at the end of the year, have come because you didn't spend the money. So when you do this process, do you get a budget report that shows the previous couple of years, what's been budgeted, what's been spent? So you can look at that and say, well, hey, we don't have to increase this, we can just take some money from over here because they haven't spent it.
Yes, we do. You wanna give me more? But I mean, yes, we do. The major portion of those have been budgeted positions that we have to budget for, and then not being able to fulfill the total amount of those budgeted positions that's resulted in the majority of the excess for the last few years.
And Cindy, for this FY '25 budget, what we're looking at is year 22, 23, and what we have so far for '24, so that's what we're looking at.
Okay. I have one more question on your priorities list. So a lot of the stuff on that list, can you tell me why we need 2 more tennis courts? How many of our students play tennis at one time that the ones we have won't fulfill the students' needs?
So that particular list are every item that anyone has ever said. And so there was an individual that said we should look at 2 additional tennis courts, so it made the list. Then every month, the building committee, finance committee, and now the budget committee go through that list to determine what the priorities are. That item has never been a priority, but it has made the list, just like anything else that would come up on that list.
Okay, so on the list also is several items, paving, repairing buildings. Do you have any sort of a maintenance plan? A lot of this stuff I would think would be on a maintenance plan instead of spending this money on it.
You're right, every project that we had that came up this year just ended up going on that list. Some of that might particularly come out of the capital reserve account that we already have, but we did try to put all of our projects, or most of the projects, on that list, just so we didn't lose sight of them.
Okay, and on the Weatherby project that's on that list, was the idea to put that money in a reserve and pay the payment out of it?
So.
Is that why it's on the list?
Yes, so the actual board originally voted on that, because we had about $800,000 that would be given to us by the state. And the plan was to take the balance and pay from the fund balance. However, there has been some discussion on trying to put that out for a 10-year payment plan instead. So that's something that we have to decide as a group, as a board, if that's the direction or if we're going to go the direction of utilizing the fund balance.
All right.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm probably loud enough without this, but sorry. A while back, we sent a letter from the town of Frankfurt, what the other towns probably did, with a request about returning the money. Is there any at this point kind of deadline or timeline where you guys might have a decision on that, or was that still really kind of up in the air as we're talking?
On the letter, I mean, I didn't send it to you personally.
Yeah, that's, no, I
Okay.
know, yeah,
Yeah, as we get closer to the end of the budget year, we will have a lot more information to base off, you know, what we'll do, for this budget year to offset future budgets.
so right now, feasibly, it's still on the table that that could happen, feasibly.
Not money coming back to the town in the fashion that was written in the letter. It would be
Okay.
through a credit that we've done in the past, through the
Okay.
budget process.
And who would hold on to that money, the town or the RSU?
No, the RSU, that's what
Okay.
I think Casey was referring to earlier.
Okay, and that's the way that normally goes,
Yes.
perfect. My questions are kind of easy, and these guys, I'm still new. I did look at the, allocated fund balance letter that came out today, and, you know, everything's kind of like the wish list type of thing, and I totally do understand that. Most of you probably already know I'm pretty passionate about sports for the kids. Not charging fees this year has been really good. I think that's a step forward we probably want to keep. But when I see, and probably it's not in any particular order, that's what I'm going to hear in a second, I get it. But see more tennis courts added, and the practice softball and lacrosse field, we don't have a regular softball field yet. But we don't need a practice softball field, we have turf. Using softball cleats on that turf is a long-term damage to the turf, but we use metal spikes. So if you're gonna continue using softball on that turf, you're gonna damage that turf quicker. It's worse for the girls on their knees and everywhere else they play is dirt. So, you know, you got a couple $1,000,000 to throw around, or maybe 100,000 or two. Into a softball field would be something you guys should look at. Lacrosse plays on the turf. I know we have a baseball field for the middle school, we have a baseball field for the high school, and we also have a baseball field. We have a softball field for the middle school, but the girls get thrown in the back corner of the turf, and that's just not acceptable at this point. So, I would like to see some priority given to that. The other projects on here, I mean, I know they all need to be done, but like I said, it's a little disconcerting that we're sitting on $10 million and there's no real official plan yet, which I think you guys are struggling to work through. When does it have to be in place before? What's the deadline, I guess, to have this kind of wrapped up per se? Not a hard deadline either, because that's not.
I can tell you it's the Thursday of the district budget meeting, of June 6th.
So June 6th, it has to be all like pretty in a plan.
Well, we would hope to have it done by then, because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
has to go to the press before that,
I
so.
got you, okay. All right, well, hey, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Good. Okay,